I am live. I am live. Good morning, world. What a busy time it has been recently. Just a lot going on. A lot going on. Not necessarily related to Salt and Light either. I spent the last hour or so doing some cleanup work on a website for a client, fixing bad links and this sort of thing. Anywho, it's time for a little animation session. So let's get our bearings here. Let's get our bearings. Over here, let's look at the script. Yeah, there's quite a bit to do here still with the kids, so we'll just dive right in. Probably going to be anchored to Blender for the most part today, I think. And we've got a Luca shot on tap, as you can see. So that's what I'm working on. Need to finish up that Luca shot. Okay, so his dialogue, let's switch screens so I don't forget, otherwise Tom will ream me for forgetting, as I so often do. What do we got? And if anybody's got any questions related to, well, I mean basically either Blender, Tahoma2D, or Krita, just post them in the chat and I'll probably get to it. So, okay, so this should be a little bit fun. You probably are noticing I changed the theme, so if anybody who hates light themes, you'll have to get over it for today because I am toying with using a light theme in Blender instead of a dark theme. Oop, I saw one little hiccup right there. Boom. Okay, so what would that be? The mouth layer, go there. Probably just hit the E key. Yes, we are in grab mode. That can go there. Cool. Problem solved. There should probably be a blink here. Okay. So, let's see here. Shadows. What is, oh, slop is probably the, yes, the slop is what I was looking for. It's the berries. Now this is, I mean, this is really a pencil test. I'm thinking what I should do is, rather than, I mean, this is my guide, but basically just a solid red color would probably do the trick. So this was done, let's just add another layer, I guess. Instead of being silly, we'll use this material, and right now we'll just call it, berries. And we do want to use the stroke. Actually, I don't think I want the fill either. I think I just want to, well, let's just run with it and see what happens. Okay, so probably this should be more like, for what I'm doing here, probably 200. And we'll just kind of follow the pencil test. And yep, cool. This is one of those cases where actually onion skins aren't actually the worst thing in the world to have going. In other words, I'm animating pretty much in real time. I'm just going straight to the final thing that would be in the show. So kind of moving fast, it would help to have the old skins on so I can see what the last frame was. Okay. So poof, poof. Okay, so actually great example of what I'm talking about now. Actually, probably this would be more sensible to sculpt it, now that I'm thinking about it. Just take these. Yeah, there we go. I mean, if there was ever a good application of sculpting, this would probably be it. Okay, so now everything needs to kind of follow Luca, right? So let's kind of go like that. Trying to program a little physics into it. Now I would say now we can, I'll get those sketches in there, but I'm just gonna, he's an 8-year-old kid and he's eating berries, so I'm gonna assume we can probably get away with something like this for now. It'll be fun to see how this turns out. Okay, so now, okay, so I guess we'll deal with monkeys separately. That would probably be more sensible. Okay, cool. I think with Luca I'm done. Go back to the D key, and looks like nothing's going on in the chat, so no problema, people. All right, so let's go back to the layers, and this would be berries with the onion skins turned back off. Right there. Okay. So what we would do here, I'll do the same thing here that I did with Luca, which was E key, twist mode, just a little bit. That's probably fine. It doesn't have to be perfect. Maybe, I guess it would be pretty easy to improve that a bit. Just go there and then take this and go more like that. Yeah, that's better. That's a little too much of a change. That's about right. Okay, Dick. Cool. Feels good. Boom. Saving our work. Where's Monkey? There's Monkey. Let's give him an ink layer. MNK ink. And didn't really mean to put a keyframe there, but let's go back, see where he appears. Well, I guess I was actually pretty close to right. He appears here, so this should be pretty easy. It's tempting to do Monkey a little different way. Let's go ahead and have some fun with Monkey. Let's say this is going to be the body color. See, this is where actually what I should do here. This is a little problematic. If I really want to see the solid color, even if it's just a stroke. And sometimes, yeah, see that updated. I guess, let's just call it monkey fur. Let's just call it what it is, and we'll go with it that way. And this would be monkey skin. These colors don't have to be perfect at the moment because obviously I can change them anytime I want. Okay, so okay, I'm caught in a loop here. By putting this on, this updates, which means, I know this sounds stupid, but okay, now I can sample this color, which is what I was trying to do. All right, it needs to be slightly more yellow and slightly lighter. Okay, definitely, actually quite a bit more yellow. Okay, so then this can be tweaked that away. Okay, so now let me just think about this for a minute. And we got ink. Guess we'll skip the ink for the moment. And so yeah, what I'm playing around with is the idea of just doing this. 200, that's a pretty big radius, but I actually think it should be even bigger. Let's go big. Okay. Alright, this is going to take only a couple minutes to do. So if it doesn't quite work, that's okay. The world will keep turning. I'm going to have to put the pencil test in front. And actually, I guess we really need his body down here as well, which I kind of left out, didn't I? So if this looks really strange, don't panic. There is a method to the madness here. I'm going to put this pencil test, though, above. And for now, I already know my colors are basically correct, so I'm going to turn these, I'm just going to turn the opacity down. That shouldn't be on, by the way. Just so I can see what I'm doing. Yep. Okay. So, monkey ink. Boop, boop, boop. So this is probably not really strictly necessary, but hang with me. You're going to see how cheating can be a really good way to animate. This just has to be basically pretty close. Okay, that's it. Now we go to the monkey skin. Actually, no. I want to go ahead and finish coloring this in. A little better. A little better. That'll work. Okay, so now we can work backwards. And remember, we can always draw over this as well. We can always trace over it with the ink. So, again, if you're not quite sure where this is going, it'll make sense in a moment. Poof. It will make sense. So, yeah, still nothing in the chat. So, whoever's lurking, be polite and identify yourself. Identify yourself. Okay, this should be, I guess, probably stretched like that. And by the way, monkey does have actually this light color here as well. So, and see, actually, you know what we should do? I'm going to look into what happens if on this layer we go ahead and, I don't know, like use freestyle or I'll have to look into, is there a way to tell Blender just on this layer to go ahead and automatically generate outlines around him so that it would just generate the black line around all of this? If you're out there in the audience and you know the answer and or how you would do it, chime in. Let me know. Okay, that's cool. All right, so now what we're going to do is go back to the charcoal ink, and we can go poof, 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 poof. Maybe a little bit of you guys know what I'm trying to say. This can be honestly a little on the sloppy side. Hate to say that, but because it's all in motion, actually. It's all moving, moving, moving. Right? Now this gets held for one frame. Well, I mean, I guess you'd say it gets held for one frame, but it's on screen for two. So we maybe want to be a little more careful. But no, no comments out there, so apparently nobody knows the answer. Now this gets held on screen for a long time, so we definitely want to make sure this is looking good. Okay, so now this is a test for you guys. Where did that... okay, it's a pop culture reference. And to be honest, it's a pop culture reference from the 1970s. So where did the term looking good come from? Somebody probably knows. I know. I don't know why that just popped in my head. Okay, so let's turn the onion skins back off and see what we got. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, throughout the show, Monkey has been done both ways, so it's really not strictly necessary that he have an outline. But and to be honest, let me think here for a minute. On this layer, it seems to me, I'm just going to look down here. Thickness scale. Onion skinning. Relation adjustments? Tint color. Ah, well, stroke thickness doesn't help. Tint color would change the whole color of Monkey, so that does elucidate a solution. The solution being, you take this layer, this is what you do. Okay, if you don't have a way to generate instant outlines, here's how I would do it. Okay, I'm going to duplicate this layer, and since this one's named differently, I'm going to put it underneath, and let's call it Monkey Outlines. Okay, so this is how you might do it if you were really trying to do it and you don't know of a better way. What you do is you'd say, well, let's take the Monkey Outlines, let's turn the tint color to black, and now let's turn the stroke thickness up, so that what happens is it just appears behind him. So what I was wanting to do, I just figured out one way to do it. There may be a better way, but that will actually work. Okay. And I guess technically speaking, if I'm gonna do it that way, I could bake this layer down. Let's see. Merge down. Let's see if that does the trick. Poof. Ah, I was afraid of that. Kind of weird. Let's try it the opposite way and see what happens. We might as well. It can't hurt to try. Merge down. Up. Oh, I see the problem. Okay. So the problem is that we've got this additional adjustment to this layer, and if we bake them together, obviously Blender doesn't know how or if this is to be applied at all. So you would have to bake, you would actually have to bake this layer. And I don't think the grease pencil has a way to really bake one layer so that you're baking in this stuff. I don't think that's possible. So that's all right. We'll just leave it as it is. I can see nobody in the audience is going to help me. That's for sure. Okay, yeah, so Monkey needs his berries, which are in this layer. Okay, so let's call this, we'll call this Monkey Slop. No, let's not call it slop. That's what I called it in the pencil test. Let's call it Monkey Berries. Okay, so how do we do it? Well, what we do is we go here, right there. Poof. Okay, for now, we will turn Monkey Ink down kind of a lot. We will turn Monkey Outlines off. I just want to be able to see what I'm doing. Okay, so let's go here, and we want the berries material. All right, and now we rock and roll. Oh, there's a comment. I just saw it out of the corner of my eye. Today's first comment. Oh, hey, Amar. What's going on, brother? Yeah, I seriously did like your I like your work in progress there that you posted on the Discord, man. It is looking good. It's got a nice feel to it. Now, admittedly, and this is not a criticism because I I extol the virtues of cheating a lot, uh, and you're getting good mileage out of the just the moodiness of it, which is good storytelling. Doesn't require too much actual animation work. Let's see. That's there. This should probably be starting to drip, I think. And then, if that's the case, then this would be. Okay, and so for this one, I'm going to switch to the. Let's bring this down, down, down. Okay. Let's see how far this goes. I'm going to say, let's have some fun with this. Let's have these stretch like crazy. And then, boop, they're going to snap. Which means basically I'm going to take this completely out. I think that's, obviously I could erase it, but let's see what we have here. I know they have a line art modifier you can add to 3D objects. Well, yes, and they're I believe they're you can add a well, I mean it seems like it would be a layer. Back in the day, you could add an outline, I thought, around, I guess it wouldn't be the whole grease pencil object. I guess it would have to be the layer. So I don't know. It doesn't matter. I mean, what I did here achieved the purpose. This is essentially exactly what I was trying to do. I just did it in a somewhat perhaps non-intuitive way. So monkey berries, turn that off. Let's see what we have, friends. I like it. I like it. All right, so this is good. That's good. This is good. This is off. Back on again. Bloop, boop, boop, boo. Okay, one thing I don't like is I might be looking in the wrong place. Edit lines. I so far have not found an instance where having the edit lines turned on is helpful. Now, does that become a problem when you go into edit mode? I don't know. Let's find out. No, it doesn't affect selection and all that. So yeah, I would say just not necessary for me. Okay, one thing I'm seeing. Let me think about this for a half sec. I suppose basically the berry juice isn't that easy to see on monkey. On the other hand, once the shadows are in here, we've got a shadow under here, it probably will be quite a bit more visible. So for the moment, we're not going to sweat it too much. All right, cool. So let's go to Luca ink. And this would be Luca, I believe this would be the pencil test, would it not? Yes. Okay, so I probably should label things. Later on, we'll wind up deleting them. I mean, deleting layers that are no longer needed. So this will be Luca CLR color. And it looks like I probably need to create some new materials, but maybe not. Okay, let's see how far we get here. D key, let's go into fill mode. All right, we're going to be doing it here. Let's just go to the beginning. And it looks like all the settings are probably correct. Yes. Okay, cool. So, oh, stop. Yes, this needs to be turned off. We don't want it referencing the pencil test when it's trying to do fill operations. That would be bad. And for those that are really paying attention, yes, you're correct. The color of Luca's skin is not correct, but that's okay. And by the way, let's turn off Luca's mouth, and let's turn off wow. Labeling correctly emerges as kind of an important thing. That should really be there. This should be turned off. All we need is the ink lines. And who is... Looks like nothing has onion skins on. I'm seeing this line right here, and it's giving me the willies. Like, why is that line there? And it might be because I'm just moving a little too fast. It's the pencil test, but the pencil test is turned off. So I'm very confused at the moment. So I have to turn off. Boom, boom, up right there. Okay, slop. Okay, this is the pencil test for just the berries. Got it. Well, I'm done inking it now. I've already put the berries in there, so let's just remove it. Okay, so now what we need on is Luca's color and Luca's ink. That's it. Okay. We are back in business, and unfortunately, because I didn't do all this housekeeping first, I've got to manually do some fixes here. But as I like to say, the world will keep on turning. Okay. Okay, I'm creeped out right now. How did I... okay, stop, undo. Sorry, I know this is really embarrassing and it's really stupid, but this gets me in trouble over and over and over again, and I just haven't learned. I just have not yet learned. What am I talking about? Well, I just added the color for Luca's face in the monkey layer, and I just want to say I do that 50 times a day. 50 times a day. I'm humming along, and then I realize I'm in the wrong layer, and I have to then make up for dumb mistakes. But that's just the story of my life, and I'm so used to it, it doesn't even bother me anymore, hardly. Sometimes it does, but yeah, that's the nature of basically 3D and/or animation anyway. It's a complex. You know, every single little step you take requires a hotkey or something, you know. It's just a... Well, it's kind of an elite skill, if the truth be known. Okay. Not sure why. Oh, I see why. Never mind. I was going to say, why are his eyes filling in? But it's because they're actually not closed shapes. Groovy. Okay, so there's Luca's skin color anyway. Let's see here. If we go back, I guess we could turn on the preview. Taking a half second to look at Amar's comments. Thanks, it's part of the animation for the... Yeah, Street Fighter, right, I got that. Went the route of animating the background since now it looks to be more work than the animation part of the clip. Squash and stretch and smear frames. Yeah, kinda. Yeah, wherever it feels right. Anytime the focus turns to Luca and Monkey, I tend to be a little more liberal with the squash and stretch. Just because Monkey, you know, Monkey's all over the place. Your line art modifier is in this version. Oh, that's what it is. That's what it is. No, you're right. You don't even have to check it. I'm almost 100% sure you're correct. Let me show everybody what Amar's talking about. Let's go to Monkey, and this is, we'll turn this off. Okay, and so what we're doing is we're saying, what's the modifier? The modifier is line art, and we're going to apply it to I think it's Monkey ink. The target material would be probably charcoal ink, I guess. And it probably only shows up when you render, actually. So source collection would be just collection, I guess. Edge types, contour. Yeah, I have not looked at any of this. I've never even looked at this stuff. Thickness. Okay, so let's just see if. Right now we don't see it. So when we hit F12, do we see it? No. So the question then becomes, I don't actually know how to make this show up. You know, if you turn up the thickness, it doesn't seem to want to appear in the preview. Yeah. Okay, thanks, Amar. So it looks like I remember looking into this before and finding that like now, it's a little confusing how it works. Actually, I remember it was about 2-3 weeks ago. And I looked into it. I'm going to skip it for now because let's be the pragmatic animators for the moment and say, look, I figured out a way to do it. Why kill ourselves? Now, while we're here, though, let's do this. Let's turn off autolock. And there is one thing, there is one thing I want to do. And that would be, let's do a little bit of smoothing. Okay, stop. Have a second here, guys. Why am I all of a sudden not seeing it? What did I change just now? That's Luca Berries. That's the wrong layer. Monkey ink turned off. Monkey outlines turned on. And now we're not seeing it. What did I change? I don't know what I changed. Oh, here's what I changed. I'm not on a keyframe. Okay, gotta relax for a minute. Okay, right here. This is the correct layer. So this is, by the way, I just want to mention this, not trying to be snarky here, trying to avoid that rant thing. But notice, guys, that the thing I've observed many times in Krita is actually true here in Blender as well, which is actually kind of shocking. What am I talking about? Well, look here on the timeline. Which layer is selected right now? Well, according to this list, none at all. But according to this, well, these keyframes are selected. So I can see where you might say, you've selected those keyframes, but that doesn't mean you're actually selecting the layer. But if anything, it would be the Luca color layer that's selected here, or active, or whatever you want to say. What's actually selected? The monkey outlines, this layer. So there's nothing in the dope sheet to reflect. And yeah, I guess it's got the gray, it's got the dark gray color here. So I guess maybe this is my stupidity. Apparently I wonder if this is a function of the theme, because this seems kind of weird to me. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? It seems like when you select a layer here, the outline color of it, the fill, this light gray, would change a little bit to give you a visual clue. And I thought it used to do that, so maybe it's a theme thing. Let's check that. I know we're getting every step we take. Just let me step back here and say something. For the last 3 weeks or so, I've transitioned from doing the vast majority of the work on this show in Krita to the vast majority of it in Blender. Now, it's been a bit like coming home to me because I've been using Blender since 1999. Probably longer than many of the people who visit my channel have been alive. Okay? However, what that means is the last several weeks have been a matter of reacquainting and literally mistake by mistake relearning how to do things and bumping into all the corner cases or edge cases, whatever you want to call it. Just little strange things that you just have to know in order to really master a tool. That's been my relationship with Blender for the last, several weeks. And it's an ongoing thing. So if I look like I'm struggling, it's because I actually am a little bit. Okay, so right here, by the way, and so my point being, every step I take, I'm bumping into something that I go, oh, stop, I need to fix that. And it happens 85,000 times a day. I'm not joking. I mean, it's like constant. So like right now is a great example. I'm doing something with Monkey. I'm working with Monkey. I'm looking at Amar's comments, which, by the way, your last two comments, the outlines layer might have been disabled, but the problem was I believe there may be a blank keyframe inserted. But anyway, so I'm working on that, and now all of a sudden, out of the blue, I notice, wait a minute, on this one frame, the Luca's berries, this right here, is wrong. Okay, stop everything. I can see what's going on here. Stop everything. You can see what's going on. Hit undo. Okay. We are not in drag mode or grab mode. We are in smooth mode. It's not what I wanted to do. Okay, so let me try that again. Oh, stop everything. Stop everything again. I'm not making this. It's comical, actually. If I was watching myself right now, if I was watching this video, I would think that I had engineered this situation. I think, oh, he set that up on purpose so he could demonstrate. No, I didn't. I literally, you just witnessed one mistake. I wasn't in grab mode, I was in smooth mode. Boom, 2 mistakes. I'm in grab mode, but I forgot that I had turned off the layer isolation. I need to auto lock so that when I do this, it only affects the pertinent layer. How many times, you might ask, does one have to make these types of mistakes before it becomes a habit? And the answer is, I'm not sure. I'm learning as I go here. But it is kind of frustrating at times and a little embarrassing, but what are you going to do? It is what it is. Okay, so now I don't remember where we started. I don't remember what the problem was. Okay, right here. Monkey's outlines, before we get into a potential other solution, nothing wrong with that, but before we get into that, let's first make sure that what we have here, that I crafted my own solution this way with the adjustments, let's make sure that's working first. Okay? So the problem that we had, Amar, just so you know, this is the problem. There was a blank keyframe in there. That's all the problem was. So it didn't have anything to do with anything else. It didn't have to do with disabling the layer. It didn't have to do with the rendering mode. It had nothing to do with any of that. It was, in fact, if you go to the simplest rendering mode that's colorful, you still see the layer because I'm doing it in the crudest possible way. So now, problem solved. Okay, so let me think about this for half a second. Where this all started a moment ago was smooth mode. I went into smooth mode, and what I did before I noticed the problem with Luca's berries is I said, let's turn off auto lock. And the reason I wanted to do that is because I knew I needed to go into the monkey layer and smooth some stuff. Now, there's 2 ways we can approach this. It's one of the interesting and I think kind of cool things about the grease pencil sculpting tools. You could hit F and make the smoothing tool range of influence smaller. Or you could just zoom in, because you'll notice relative to the zoom, the tool keeps the same, let's say, setting. Okay, so now that's kind of interesting. And what we find is, okay, what we find is really, really bad news. Which is, and it doesn't matter, this is a 1 frame tween anyway, so it really only matters on this frame. Okay? So, and then the question becomes, does this matter? Well, this is uglier and more difficult than I expected, because none of this is not a line with a fill. It's actually just a bunch of lines. It's scribbling literally, which means this doesn't really behave the way I had hoped it would. So one of the challenges we have at all times is that there is an inverse relationship between being well organized, meaning you create layers for each individual thing. You're really keeping your workspace organized so that you have things exactly only on the layers they belong in, and it's easy to find things and it's easy to work with things. Well, that's inversely correlated to the problem of actually having to constantly change layers and or search for the layer you're looking for. And it literally is, in my view, it's literally an inverse correlation. So right now, what am I even trying to do, you might wonder? I'm just trying to turn off my pencil test, actually. That's what's in my head right now. And the problem is, I absolutely, literally don't remember. Okay, there's the problem. What we have here is an inappropriately named layer. So there's no right answer or wrong answer. It's not good or bad to have 10 layers for your character or whatever. It's just that you need to be aware that it's a trade-off. If you put everything in one layer, well, there's no jumping around. On the other hand, it makes certain things harder to do, right? So I just share that because there's probably people that are going to watch this video that aren't necessarily all that experienced. Okay. And so then I look around here and I find what I'm looking for, and I go to start to work. I'm like, oh, I need to smooth this out or fill this in. And then I realize, stop everything, because just a moment ago, when I fixed the previous problem, I switched to the pencil test layer, which means I'm on the wrong layer. Okay? It's like axiomatically, I'm on the wrong layer 9 times out of 10. So if you're not like super paying attention to that, it can really bite you in the butt. Okay, so the monkey ink layer is probably the answer to the problem that I'm sort of not really coming out and saying, in the sense that stop again, undo, stop everything. I went to draw, but I'm not in draw mode. I'm in fill mode. There we go. I'm not trying to be overly dramatic. I'm trying to really make it clear that you guys, this is what happens. This is how the real world works. You know, you go to do stuff and there's so much that you have to keep track of. And after a while it does become habit, actually. It's no big deal. But boy, when you're in the learning process, it can drive you bonkers. Cuz you guys have just witnessed it right here today. In living color on NBC. Literally, what was that? In the last 15 minutes, how many grave mistakes have I made? At least 5. Only works with 3D objects. Why then? Okay, and just as long as we're complicating things, it's also true that you could, if you want to get into what we were talking about the other day, where we're fiddling around with scenes, collections, view layers. If you want to do that, you could generate outlines through the compositor as well. But, just saying, for completeness, that does need to be mentioned. Okay, so now the question becomes, this is all moving really fast. Is this okay the way it is? Yeah, but if you want to fix it, if you want to make it even more perfect, you go to the monkey outlines layer, because remember, no matter what color I use, no matter what I do in this layer, it's going to be turned black. So that means if I go like this, these outlines will just magically appear. You see, just by drawing until they, just caress the edge until the outlines show up. Okay. So I think we're done with monkey. Well, actually, since we're here, why don't we add a monkey shadow layer right now so we can see how that's going to look. So that's going to be masked, and it's going to be masked only to the monkey ink layer. Okay, the material is going to be shadow filled. I need to actually change this in my startup file because this should be fully opaque. Okay. So, in other words, let's put in this shadow, and then we'll crank down the opacity shortly in the at the layer level. So monkey shadow, and we can turn this down to something like that probably. And now the question becomes, do we even need the shadows through here? It probably couldn't hurt. It will help make the berries more visible. Obviously that frame looks terrible, but it doesn't matter because it's on the screen only for half a second. Well, not even. I mean, literally, actually, 1/8 of a second is what it actually is. Okay. Let's see if it's looking okay. I'm not satisfied. I'm going to go here, here, here. And I'm going to just have fun with this. Monkey berries. Okay, but hang on a second. Actually that worked. The problem is, and forgive me guys for being confused as usual, but I'm super confused right now. The monkey berries layer is active. I'm painting into it actively, but yet I don't see it. Is this the problem? Yep, there's the problem. Oh my gosh. Okay, that was embarrassing. Frankly, that looks pretty good, the way I did it there. Let's just keep expanding and expounding. I tell you, I know what I need to do. This is stupid. I can't believe I did this. How sloppy can I be? Okay, so this should have just a little hint of it. And then we'll let it drip off. Okay, so now there's one thing I want to do here. I want to really zoom in, and I want to put something here because I need some juice that is not in front of his fur. So something that's going to be just basically easier to see. Whoops, that's probably okay. I'm trying to make it look like, you know, that stretch. Actually, I'm going to erase this. Let's see just how thin I can get that. Yeah, actually, let's leave a blank line in there. Alright, I guess we'll insert a blank keyframe. A lot of work for just a bunch of slop. It looks good though. If monkey makes me giggle, that's normally a good sign. That's a good sign. Okay. Alright. Hey Maria, welcome. Let's see here. Yeah, the Gamer, getting back to the line art modifier, it does not make sense that it would be something that only works with 3D objects if it is in fact available for grease pencil strokes. So there's something here that we're missing. There's some information. I shared some brushes that were demoed on a recent Krita video. process for the creation of the oil brushes was interesting. Yeah. Yes, the latest generation of brushes in Krita, since I said earlier if people bring something up, I'll address it, is worth a look. And to be honest with you guys, despite all the craziness with Krita, I am actually back to 5.2.6 for the last week or so. I'm just kind of sticking with it. Seems to be the least egregious. But yes. The brushes, like this one here, is kind of new to Krita 5.2 point whatever. And it's quite good. I mean, sorry, I've got all my Krita hotkeys are a little strange, and I have to constantly relearn them every time I open Krita. Sounds insane, but it's really true. Right? So they basically put some bump mapping into the brush definition, and it wouldn't be that great as an oil paint brush if it wasn't for the fact that they did a really nice job programming it, because when you lighten up your strokes and just very lightly, it blends quite nicely. So it really does behave. I don't know if I'd go as far as saying it behaves like real oil paint, but it certainly is as close as we've come in Krita, that's for sure. Right? And it's got a like for background painting, it's it's just kind of nice. It feels good, it's loose. It's a little bit easy to get that impressionistic effect going on. That type of thing. It just looks like parts of a landscape or whatever, Right? So yeah, very nice to work with. In fact, the background paintings on the most recent shot I did with Luca. Sorry, I don't have the preview on. But yeah, I actually used that brush. Is everything you see here is all from that brush. Like this little bit right here. So yeah, I'm using them. Back to work. Okay, so we need to get Luca colored in here. Luca color. All right, what do we got? Well, we need a new material. So the skin material needs to be modified. Okay, that's interesting. Stop everything. Undo. Why? Here's the Luca color layer. That's weird. I clicked this. I clicked the material thing, which of course is not reflecting the material color right now. This is the material color. This is I don't even know what to say about this. There's some things about this that the way it updates and stays coordinated with other parts of the interface is a little dicey. Anyway, a moment ago I just clicked on this and it created a keyframe. Clicking on this created a keyframe in this layer, which is kind of strange since clicking on it doesn't actually do anything. It doesn't do anything at all. Yep, anything I click creates a keyframe. That's very interesting. Not very useful, I must say. Okay, so we'll make this Luca's garment, and we're gonna copy where's the skin layer? Well, you might be seeing right now why I've been oh, it's way down here. My gosh. Guess we need to like hide some unused layers or something. Anyway, okay, so okay, stop everything. Again. Yet again. I've made one mistake. I needed to click this icon. Otherwise, this material and this material are linked. If I change the color of this one, I'm changing the color of his skin, and that's not what I wanted to do. This is Luca garment, which is green. And now that I made it independent of it by clicking this little obscure icon that you would, if you didn't know this, you would spend literally half a day tearing your hair out thinking, God, man, what I'm trying to do in Blender is right there in front of me and I just can't touch it. I just can't get it. You'll be screeching with frustration because it's so simple, but if you don't know, you don't know. You're just like, I got no idea. Okay, I'm going to create another material for Luca's hat. So new material, immediately base it on something else and make it independent. The only reason I'm doing that, by the way, it would actually be faster to just create a new material. I'm only doing it this way to show how it's done, and it just basically creates a new material that's already set to just the fill. I wouldn't be doing that probably. Okay, I might be stepping on myself here by saying this. Okay, let's put it this way. It could be that in Blender, there is a way to create a new material where the new material you create begins with no stroke and a fill. There may be a way to tell Blender, hey, when you create a new material, by default, go with a fill material. The problem is if there is such a thing or such an option, I don't know what it is or where it is. I don't know how to do it. And anytime you create a new material in Blender, in my experience, boop, you're creating a stroke material, which is precisely what I don't want most of the time. Actually, that's true. Most of the time, I'm just slapping up colors that are going to be used for the fill operations. So anyway, then I have to go changing. I have to go, well, we want to turn the stroke off and the fill on. In this case, we'll put this up here, and we'll call this the eyes color. So now we have the material we're going to use for Luca's eyes as well. Okay, so I'm just pointing that stuff out so you just guys kind of know what you're going to bump into from time to time. So I should be on the Luke color layer, which is selected here. It is selected here. And I need to click be in fill mode. Ta-da! Boy, I like that color. Unfortunately, it's actually technically a little too bright for strictly speaking. But boy, isn't that pretty? I love that color. Okay, why is there actually a keyframe there? Stop. It looks like we've got keyframes across the board here that might all be erroneous. Not sure what that was about, but that does not need to be in there. That does. Ah, I knew it. I knew that one wasn't going to fill. There we go. I suspected. All right. Now we can lower this down pretty much to the minimum. Cool. All right, back to, let's work backwards. So we want to go to, and by the way, just in case you guys are thinking, man, it's a bummer. You got to keep switching from here to here. Isn't there a better way? Yeah, there is. It's not a better way, but it's a different way. Is you can click up here and boop. Not bad. Not bad. I know the color of his hat and the color of the berries pretty much the same color. But there it is, my friends. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to switch to the eyes color. And we're just going to go to pencil mode because you could stay in fill mode and just hit shift. But doing it this way, I don't have to. Okay, so let's go to the next. Boop, 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 boop. Boop. Frankly, if I put eye blinks on Luke, I probably should just put it on a different layer. Use the skin color to effectively cover up his eyes. Just saying. I guess we could do this. That ain't gonna fly there. So I'm hitting shift since I am in fill mode. Shift basically lets you instantly stay in fill mode but switch to hand painting here and there if you need to. And you can combine the two. Close the gap, then hit click, click. Close the gap, click, click. Close the gap, click, click. Okay, cool. All right, what the heck is going on over there in the chat today? Let's see what else we have. Actually, you know what? Let's just render this. See what it feels like in the show. Why not, right? Definitely doesn't feel like the anti-aliasing seems a little different, but I don't know. We'll see. Well, let's see what it looks like in the show. Boop, boop, boop. This is half resolution, by the way. I see a flaw. I totally see a flaw. Okay, I'm going to turn this up to full resolution for a moment. Okay, little gap in the berry juice, and then right there, that's out of time. That timing is wrong. Bad, 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 bad. Back to Blender. Okay, so it'd be Luca berries. And let's just call it what it is. I've been a bit sloppy. Okay. I'm in the Luca berries layer. I really need to be painting, not filling. Luca berries. And I want to look very, very closely. I think what's actually going on is it was right there. That's what I saw. That is totally what I saw. And by the way, do you notice the problem right there? Okay, so let's go to Luca color. Let's go to Luca. Okay, that's annoying. I pop it up, and then when I see the material I want. You see it? Luca garment, right? But when I actually bring the mouse down to grab it, it jumps. That is one of the truly egregious idioms in the software world that we have gotten used to as a culture and just tolerate. That's quite ridiculous. What are you even talking about, Dave? It's when you go to a web page and you... Oh, come on. It just did it again. Like every freaking time it jumps. Okay, that is sick. That is like, there are no words for how stupid that is. But, hey, software has issues. So the point on a website would be, you go to the web page, the content loads, you see the link you were looking for, you move your mouse to it, you're about to click it, and then the content updates, everything jumps around, changes position, and you accidentally either miss the click or click the wrong thing. We're totally used to that. Like, it doesn't even bother us hardly, right? Because it happens so often, it's normal. And yet, that is just... And it's big sites, too. I mean, I don't know, like Microsoft or something. Like, go to a major site, and you see this problem everywhere. Everywhere. It's just the way it is, man. The way it is these days. Okay, shift back. I guess we'll re-render and pop it back into the show and see if we clean. Oh, no. There's one thing. Stop everything. I forgot the timing on the right here. Right here. Watch it. Watch it. Let's go forward one frame at a time. I mean, that's kind of okay, I guess. But not really. Oh, come on. Stop everything. Stop everything. Stop. I know it's obnoxious when I do that, guys, but I have to. I have to remind myself. Just literally stop everything. There's one really important step that makes all the difference that you forgot. And as I said, this is going to keep going like this probably for... could be for months. Could be for months. Okay, what's the problem? Here, right here. I needed auto lock to be back on. I need to make a hotkey for that, by the way. Why? Well, because I only want to affect the layer that I'm working with. Right? Okay, so that's good. That's very much not good. I mean, that's probably okay. What the heck? Let's render it and we'll see if it's okay. But yeah, I mean, I wish that stuff didn't happen, but it's like one of the challenges I will say, you know, after doing this for 30 years, I got to say one of the challenges of being a creative professional, and it's completely my own fault, is it astounds me to look back over the last 3 decades and notice how many times I took on a project that I literally had no idea how to do what it was I was promising I would be able to do. That type of thing is what you're seeing manifested here. You know, I'm committed to animating here with Blender, aren't I? Well, the problem is I actually am kind of like at sub-newbie level. I'm a little above newbie level, but not much in my usage of Blender these days. It's comically bad. Okay, let's go to... We don't have a Luca shadows layer. Let's put it above here. Luca SHD. And we don't want onion skins. That's another thing. I want to tell Blender by default when you create a new layer, do not freaking turn on onion skins by default. I always have to remember to turn it back off again. I like hardly ever use onion skins. When I use them for just a moment and then turn them right back off. Anywho, D key. Alright, so what are we going to do here? Well, probably something like that. Okay, now this feels... Oh, yeah. We've got to do the same thing here we did to monkey because it's on a per layer basis. So I'm going to go to the monkey shadows and say that's 0.3. Okay. We'll just assume 0.3 is probably okay. Yeah, I mean, that looks pretty good. Okay, and then we also probably should turn on the masking, which means it's going to be Luca's color is going to be the mask element. Right? So that means that if I go like this, as you can see, the color layer masks it. It keeps it from bleeding outside. It's probably okay. Okay, stop right there. Okay, this one, I think it would make more sense to sculpt it. Yep. Sculpt. This, probably not, but it's worth a try just to see if we can get away with it. Why not, right? Yeah, I mean, it's kind of amazing how far sculpting will take you. Okay, D key. Poof. This should create a blank keyframe, by the way. And then we'll just go in here and pop these shadows back in. I guess I did have one there as well. And since we're on a locked shot for a bit, let's go ahead and put one in his ear as well. Oh, didn't realize it was going to move so quick. All right, let's make this as big as possible so we can just take the whole thing and dance it around. Dance, 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 dance. Oh. Okay. Is this sculptable? Probably. Probably. Other than the nose bit is a little whacked. Boom. Can it be isolated? Yeah, probably. You can probably do that. Right. Right. Okay, keep going. And there we should start drawing again. Ploof. Ploof. Well, I guess that's okay, actually. Let me go back 2 steps. I didn't really like how deep that was. I want to follow the contours of these wrinkles I put in the clothing. And of course, there's a mistake. Poof, poof. Poof, poof. Yes or no? No, absolutely not. Yeah, that's getting into dangerous territory. Okay, so there's no way I'm going to match that, but I'm going to try. So what I'm going to do is go like this and just hope. Stop. Yeah, that's more like it. See, the what do you call this? Twist, or what do they call it? Yeah, twist. The twist capability in Blender is vastly superior to Krita's. And the reason is in Blender they've got it dialed in so that you can move your mouse quite a bit and it makes a fairly small change and you can really control it. In Krita you can't. You can set the strength of it to be extremely weak, and you go into liquefy mode, twist, and what you find is a very small change, just the tiniest change, and everything's set to the smallest number possible, and yet the tiniest change, it makes a massive twist. You can control it if you really try hard and you're careful to literally move your mouse 1 pixel, or whatever. But basically, it's shockingly unmanageable, and it's just an engineering problem. They created a range of effect where the bottom of the range is actually 10 times higher than what you normally, not even what you would sometimes want, but like what you almost always want. In Blender, it's the complete opposite. It's very intuitive. The thing you want to remember, just for the record here, let's go to another hotkey. So in other words, in Blender, you can move it slowly, and you can control it. You can kind of see what it's doing as it does it, and you can stop in time. In Krita, you can't. You can't. In Krita, you move your mouse 1 little molecule, and it goes like way far like that, and it'll make you insane. The one thing you do want to remember is whether you're moving your mouse up or down, it twists in the same direction. Okay? The way you change the direction is right here. You switch it to minus instead of plus. So, just thought I'd throw that out there for completeness. I can't remember if I rendered. I think I did, but what the heck. Okay, so I'm going to take a moment and look at what's going on over here. Create a set of materials for the behavior by default in your startup file. Yeah, well, so your comment, Amar, your comment at 1054. Okay. I'm going to actually go from the bottom. I think Amar is correct. The connection between the line art modifier is not essentially freestyle, where you're using freestyle to put lines around your characters and stuff. That's not what it does. I think it's what Amar's saying. It's using the grease pencil to do that very thing to 3D geometry. So it's a little non-intuitive. Your comment at 1054, I don't really find helpful, because what you're saying there at 1054 and 1055 is exactly what I've been doing in Blender 2.8x and greater for multiple years. I have materials in the what do you call this? It's not a palette, because the palette's what's used with the vertex painting. But anyway, in the list of materials for years, literally for years, I have some materials that are stroke materials, some that are filled materials, And yes, that's what I do. I make a copy of whatever it is that I want. But that's old information. I've known how to do that for years. So your comment at 1054 is confusing because you're saying, I think for you, if you create a set of materials, which I already have, for the behavior by default in your startup file, which I already have, then you can fix that issue. Well, no, you can't. So what you said is what you've been doing for multiple years, you can do. Which, well, yeah, I already knew that. Whenever I do a new Blender file, I already have a set of, I have charcoal ink, I have pencil test, I have skin and several other solid colors because I know I'm going to wind up changing the colors later. And then sometimes I add more. What we're all looking for, if you know, is how do you tell Blender when creating a new material, don't create a stroke material by default, but rather a fill material? And the answer, I believe, I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure the answer is, oh, we don't know. We have no clue. And in fact, we don't know that it's even possible. So if you find out that it is possible, then post that, because that gives us some material we can actionize. But just the speculation that maybe there's a way, which is the same way I've been doing it for years, I can't do anything with that information. Do you see my point? I know I sound a little snarky on this point. I'm needling it a little bit for the reason that this is a type of comment that tends to take up a lot of bandwidth, not just here in the chat or anything, but literally across the internet. It's really what dominates YouTube today. So in other words, you click on a video to find out about, let's say, modeling 3D geometry in Blender. And then what the video does is it spends a lot of time telling you that you can. Did you know that you can create 3D models in Blender? And you go, well, yeah, I already knew that. That's why I clicked on the video, is because I want to know how to do it. What do I actually do? And then the video says, but before we get to that, let's look at the history of 3D rendering and 3D modeling, and now let's waste more, because the whole point of the video is not to teach you diddly you know what. The point of the video is to get you to watch the video. And I personally am at a place in my life history with YouTube and the internet in general where I detest that. I detest it. I hate it with a passion. If you're going to tell me in the headline that you're giving me a piece of information, then give me the blanky blank blank information. Don't waste a whole bunch of time telling me how great it is that I'll have the information sooner or later. I don't care about that. Don't waste time telling me, and by the way, well, but why do we even want to know this information? Let's take a look back at the history of it and find out why. No, I didn't want to know that. I just wanted to know how to do it. And you wind up with lots of content that literally tells you nothing. And then you sit there, you're kicking yourself because you're going, oh my God, I can't believe I was stupid enough to sit through this video. Now, the Animation Truman Show, or what I do here, is the complete opposite of that. It's nothing but the warts. It's nothing but the brutal, ugly process of actually doing it, which means a lot of the time it's probably equally frustrating to viewers because you're not actually getting much done. Why? Because you're making mistakes and stuff, and you're learning as you go. Why is that valuable? Well, it's valuable because that's literally what every single person that ever tries to actually do something cool with Blender or any other tool, that's what they're going to experience. That's exactly what they are going to go through. And it's pretty hard, you know, it's pretty not, I mean, it can be brutal, you know, pretty demanding. But to Amar, your comment on the line art modifier was definitely useful. That's at least it elucidated what the answer is. The answer is that if you try to use the line art modifier on a grease pencil layer to create outlines, you've been fooled into thinking it does something that it's not even designed to do. It's kind of related to that, but it's not that. You know what I mean? So Where are we at? Well, I think we're at backgrounds. So probably, let's see here. This is going to be a static background. Let's take a look at what we have here. Back here, yep, we're going to use this. So what that means, guys, is what we do now is we go to Krita, we create a new project that's going to be Dave's HD, and let's see here. It doesn't make sense in this case to export the individual layers from Blender, to be honest. That's going to create a bunch of... Yeah, okay, didn't know that that's what you're doing. Yeah, that's what I've always done. What, like, I can show you. I'm going to show you. Okay, we'll save this project, or save this scene. Okay, watch. I don't do a 2D animation. That's what the Blender people think you want, and it's close. I prefer my own setup. So general, which is also for 2D animation. Okay, this is a brand new scene. This is my default, and it's what it is. It is evolving. Every once in a while, something comes up where I'll resave my defaults so that every time I create a new project, those defaults are in place. If you don't know how to do that, friends, here's how you do it. File, defaults, save startup file. Okay, look at the materials. There's charcoal ink. Well, let's expand it. So I'll go Control Spacebar. So there's charcoal ink filled, which is basically solid black big blobs. There's charcoal ink, which is for drawing ink lines. There's the pencil test. There's the shadows. I don't know why I have shadow not filled. It's probably so I can touch up shadows by just brushing. Highlight and highlight not filled do the exact same thing that shadow and shadow not filled do, except they brighten instead of add shadows. And then I have 4 materials that I always wind up customizing to the situation at hand. That's how every scene starts out. And so when I need new materials, my normal procedure is I just grab one of these, new slot, new material, duplicate that one, duplicate this one, click this to make it unique, and then change the color. And that's pretty much the whole process. So the question that we would love to answer is, hey Blender, would you mind, Blender, when you create a new material like this, would you mind creating a fill material instead of a stroke material so I don't have to go and change it like every single time? And the answer today probably is no, we really don't actually know if that's possible, and if it is possible, how to do it. I just don't know, friends. I just don't have any idea. Okay, so in this case, I said that the thing to do from here is to bring it into Krita. If we're going to add some gradients and stuff, that's probably the right idea. Doing that would change, just like in any drawing program, how it would work. Okay, so making a brush be a fill or a stroke by default. Well, okay, so guys, Amar's making a really good point. He's asking some super good questions here. Because one of the things you find in Blender is you can, let's just go into draw mode and I'll show you here. You can use this little pin material thing to, because you got to remember, Blender is generally making a distinction between the brush, which is how it behaves when you draw, versus the material, which is what color it is or any other fancy schmancy textures or whatever that are baked into the material. And then that's complicated further by the fact that you can switch. So let me just show this. I can go to this material. We'll just use the pencil test material. Actually, let's use the ink material. Okay, and not the pencil. Let's use the F ink pen. Okay, so the brush says when I press harder, I get thinner lines, and anything associated with how the brush behaves, like putting jitter in the lines or, again, texture, whatever the color is. Well, not the color, I'm sorry, but basically the brush. Okay, then you have the material, which in this case is black. Well, so those two things are decoupled. However, Blender in 2. I think it was 8.3 introduced this idea. And it was basically to take the unwieldy list of materials that gets longer and longer and longer, and you find that 2/3 of your working day is spent scrolling through a list. To mitigate that problem, the Blender people had the presence of mind to say, well, let's create this thing called a vertex color for the grease pencil. Okay, there's fancy schmancy things you can do with it, by the way, like, well, okay, first things first. The first thing about the vertex colors, if you switch from here to here, you then do need to remember to turn up the mix factor. Okay? So this is a green color, right? So now when I draw, oh, wait a second. I turned up the mix factor. How come I'm not seeing green? Well, if you're a newbie, first of all, you were frustrated because you didn't know that you needed to turn up the mix factor. So vis-a-vis Amar's comments, this is actually something that belongs in my default startup file. I should actually create a new project right now, go to vertex material, turn the mix factor up to 1, switch it back to a standard material, and then save my default. Because then, by default, when I go to this, it will actually already be mixed in. But now you're still confused if you're new because you're going, I just painted a line, but I don't see the color. Ah! I want to claw out my own eyeballs. Well, that's because the other secret the Blender people didn't tell you is that you only get to see the vertex colors if you're in one of these preview modes. Fully rendered, and this is, what is this? This isn't solid. This is viewport shading, is material preview. This is the default, and that's probably another thing that should be changed in my startup file. By default, I should probably be either here or here. Okay? So there's little secrets. Well, when Blender expanded the capabilities of the brushes such that instead of having simple drawing brushes, we now have all this fancy schmancy stuff like, you know, oil paint and grass and charcoal and blah, 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 particles or whatever. When they added that, what you'll notice is, and if you don't know it, this is another thing that's going to make you want to scream. Because you can go, wow, it's kind of cool that I can paint this sort of grass texture, but I think I want to change the color a little bit. So then you go over here and change the color. Well, actually, that does work, so forgive me for telling you something stupid. But, okay, a better way to say it would be, okay, I like this color, but I want to paint this color with a different brush or something. The point I'm trying to get to make here is that when Blender introduced the more advanced brush capabilities with the grease pencil, they also introduced this pin material. Okay, I make that point because what it means to you as a user is that it used to be that the material and the vertex paint material and the brush are all very decoupled from one another. They're three different things. Basically, you've got a brush that says how does the brush behave. Then you've got a material, but if you put it in vertex color mode, then you can have a single material that's painting all different colors by simply changing the color on the wheel. Well, when they created all these new brush capabilities, what you'll find if you go through here is in most cases, the designers of the brush also pinned the brush to a material. It might be a vertex color material as opposed to a solid material. It doesn't matter. The point is it's pinned, which means you're going to be struggling and, again, clawing out your own eyeballs because you can't figure out how to use this material but with a different brush. I want to go back to this brush, but I want to keep using the same material. And it becomes kind of confusing. So just be aware. Be aware. The basic way to think about it would be this. If you're in a more, let's say, 2.9 or higher version of Blender, and you're using fancy schmancy brushes of any kind, be aware that you probably are going to notice that the brush and the material are pinned together. They're working as a single unit. That's not a good thing or a bad thing. It's just a thing that you want to be aware of because it can be very confusing how things actually relate to each other. So making a brush be a filler stroke material by default would not be the approach when you have to draw with a line by default. Well, no, that's not true. See, that's not true. The reason it's not true is because in most cases, first of all, okay, let's do it this way. Let's do a couple things here. Okay, so this is a lesson for you guys in how to properly update your Blender configuration. Okay, number one, only do one thing at a time. Otherwise, you will not remember what you did. Okay, so let's go through and do a couple things here real quick. Real quick, I'm going to switch to vertex paint mode and turn the mix factor up to 1. I'm going to switch back to material mode, file, default, save startup file. That's it. That's all I changed. What does that mean? It means when I create a new Blender scene, if I switch to vertex paint mode, it's already fully mixed in. Okay, that's the first thing. Okay, but we're not done. So go back to your default. Don't save this. Just go back to the default. Now, if I were to be using that frequently, I would have to be in one of these two preview modes. So I'm going to switch to fully rendered mode. And now I'm going to do the same thing I did a moment ago. Defaults, save startup file, done. New. Okay. That's pretty stupid, but there it is. Unfortunate. That is unfortunate. What's the hotkey for that? What's the hotkey for changing the blending mode? Or the, I'm sorry, the viewport shading. It looks like, guys, let's try this one more time. I'm going to switch to fully rendered. Defaults, save startup file, and now I'm going to create a new scene and switch it back. Okay, so I have bad news for you guys. It turns out you just need to remember this. If you're going to get into using vertex mode painting so that you can have a single material with lots of colors, you manually have to change this because this setting apparently does not bake into the Blender startup file. I did not know that. Okay, so let's start over and we'll go back to what Amar was talking about. Okay, so this is my argument back to Amar. And by the way, Amar and I are not fighting here. He's throwing stuff out to be helpful, and I'm throwing stuff out to show him the other side of the argument. It is not an angry argument. It's just like we're batting ideas around. It's no big deal, right? Okay, so the answer to what Amar said is this. When I start a new scene, I already have the two stroke materials that are most important. Charcoal, ink, and pencil test. Basically, this is red, this is black. That's it. Everything else might as well be a film material. They're not 100% all film. Well, wait, they might actually be. Yeah, everything else is a film material. I guess highlight not filled and shadow not filled. Honestly, okay, I'm going to actually change this right now. I'm going to create a new. Go here. Shadow not filled. I'm going to get rid of it. Highlight not filled. I'm going to get rid of it. Go back to my layers. File. Defaults. Save startup file. Okay. New scene. Okay. So back to what we were talking about. So when I start out a scene, okay, stop everything. Stop everything. This should be pencil test. Go back here. Stop everything. Save. Defaults. Save startup file. Why did I do that? Because I realized just now that my default had the skin color as my startup color. I don't want that. I want to start a new scene and immediately be in pencil test mode, which it is. Okay? So, anyway, what's the point? Having to create new stroke materials is a rare event for me because my normal procedure would be to just take the charcoal ink material. Because it's not pinned, I can switch to the ink pen and use one of these two materials, and at any time I can switch either of these into vertex paint mode and the mix factors turned back down. So now I don't know. Oh boy, this might turn out okay. I gotta check something. Well, this is where you have to experiment, friends. Okay, pencil test Mix factor is 1. But is that a function of the pencil or the material? I think it's a function of the brush. So let's switch to ink pen. Yes. Switch to vertex paint. Turn on the mix factor. Switch this back. Go back to my pencil. Yep. Undo. File. Default. Save startup file. Okay, so you can see how meticulous it is. To get your startup file dialed in so things work the way you want takes a good bit of work. Okay, so now to get back to what we're talking about, I've got two materials that are basically stroke materials, right? At any time, I can switch brushes, go to vertex paint mode, and just start having fun, right? So all the flexibility I need is kind of in these two, and in the rare case where I really need a new stroke material, I could obviously copy one of these. Just create another one. So for me, new materials are almost always for fill operations. And anything else about the brushes doesn't matter. Why? Well, because if I select one of these materials, it's already pinned to the specific material that makes the brush work. So I don't need to concern myself with that. And by the way, as you can see, once I used it, that material reappeared actually in my materials list. So it's a bit confusing. I mean, there's a lot of things you got to kind of wrap your head around. But let's get back to work here. What time is it? 11:32. Okay, cool. All right, so I said we're going to bring it into Krita. My process lately with Krita has been to export just what I need in terms of layers, so that, for example, in Krita, I only have the keyframes that have changed, number one, and I have things like color and lines separated from each other. In this case, I don't think we need to do that. Honestly, I think it's much simpler. What we're going to do, oops, we need to create a new scene. Okay, we don't need that background in there. So what we're going to do is just, we're going to file, import the animation frames. We're just going to import the whole shot because that shot is not that long. It's not like it's going to be punitive performance-wise. So let's just bring in all the keyframes into Krita. You say, well, why are you doing that, Dave? Why? Hang on and I'll show you. So this is going to be, I don't know, let's make it 42 frames. The frame rate is obviously 8. Okay, so this would be saved as episode 3 03-80. Okay, so now the Krita file is saved. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up 78. File, open recent. It's probably in the recent. That's 79. 77. Is that 76? Okay. By some freakish, horrific coincidence of fate, every recent shot is showing up except the one I need. So what are the odds? Well, it could be because the whole thing was done in Blender and there is no Krita file. That's interesting. Okay. Let me just think about this for half a second. This is 378. Yes, I did do this in Blender, but I don't remember how I did the I don't remember how I did the background. So let's go to, okay, and we have the same problem here. Every recent file from going way back is in the hot list except the one I need. That's kind of weird, man. That's kind of weird. Okay. What the heck is going on here? 0378. It would be 78. Come on, where is it? (0378). There's no blend file. And there's no Krita file. Well, friends, this is where you suddenly look over the shoulder of the Animation Truman Show guy and notice that No matter how meticulous I am, no matter how careful I am, I can't get everything right. I know what the answer is. I know exactly what the answer is. I did it in OpenToonz, or, well, Tahoma2D. No wonder. Jeez, oh, Pete, I was getting confused. Okay, sit tight for a second. All we have to do is look at the background image, and I'm pretty sure... Okay. Okay, so Tahoma2D is giving me some kind of error. And what is that? Undefined or empty Tahoma root. Installing again could fix the problem. Okay, so guys, I know this is creepy and weird. The other day, Tahoma 1.5 was acting really strange. So I just changed the name of my folders so that when I launch it with my launcher, it would launch 1.4 instead. I am now reversing that decision. I'm changing the folder Tahoma2D _1_5 to simply Tahoma2D. Why? Because now in my other screen, when I launch Tahoma2D, it's going to launch 1.5. Is it also going to have a problem? I don't know. We'll find out. I can't remember, to tell you the truth, if I did the shot that I'm loading in 1.5 or 1.4. I don't remember. Okay, that says 78, so that's probably it. Okay, cool. Okay, so now we've got this raster level with the background in it. But I'm thinking it's highly likely that I pulled... Yeah, it is in the backgrounds folder. That painting is not in the background folder. So again, it's quite embarrassing, and I apologize that I have to grope around and just flop like a monkey trying to... I'm trying to find the background painting! Ah! Where is it? You know? That's what I'm doing. Where the hell did it go? And it's... I don't bump into this grave of a problem very often, but let's just see here. Okay, so what we have is 377. Yes, it's 377. So I reuse the one from 377 and 378, and that's where all the confusion is coming from. So the answer is to open 377. Boom. Whew, that was difficult, wasn't it? Okay, so now we're not confused anymore. And there's the first iteration of the background painting. And so what I'm going to do... Yep, there it is. There it is. Let's see what this does. I don't know that that really does much of anything. Let's look at what the backgrounds are here. So yes. And this... I believe I did paint over it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this, copy the layer, and paste the layer. Seriously, dude? All of that just for that? Yeah. Yeah, because I couldn't find my background painting. Kind of sucks, but there it is. Okay, so that looks okay. In the context of the show, honestly, this one's going to look better. Now, should we scale it up a little bit to just kind of let it sit in the mix more effectively? I'd say so. So what I'm going to do is go like that. And I'm just from a distance, actually looking at it like this, like a postage stamp, is quite helpful. All right, I like that. I'm going to go with that. So we're going to go image, and we're going to trim it to the image size, which basically, as you can see what that did. Okay. So now here is our shot. Are there any problems? Yeah, I see one. Ooh. Strike everything I just said. We have a little problem. We definitely have a little problem. which I won't try to particularly explain at the moment, but something like, I don't know, I want to make this slightly bigger. One of Krita's quirks, like for example, if you hit Control Shift Alt, everything sizes from the center, right? What you don't know, the dirty little secret in Krita, is you actually have to start. See how this. Hang on, you guys can't see it. I know you can't see it. Okay, can you see the line? Unfortunately, it's like impossible to see. What are the odds that? What are the odds? What are the odds? If we need to resize something, the one thing we definitely want to do is take the outline of the thing we're resizing and make it impossible to see. Okay, so, you know, these are the kind of things we bump into all the time. But what I was trying to say before I so rudely interrupted myself is in Krita, what you have to do is you have to start stretching it and then hit the hotkeys to constrain it so it resizes from the center. To which, if you're an intelligent person, you go, wait. That's insane, because that means every single time I ever resize something, I have to start by resizing it in the wrong way, then apply the hotkey so that it then wakes up and resizes it in the right way. And you're going, that's like completely insane. Yes, exactly. It's completely insane. But it's how Krita works. So, all right. So I guess what I have to do in this case is basically this. I need to lower this a little bit. Probably can get away with doing the old trim thing. And then as you can see, I have to start stretching it. See, this is all wrong. You wouldn't want it to stretch this way, would you? So what you think is hit Shift, Control, Alt, and then start stretching it. Okay. I guess I'm wrong. This is like literally before your eyes. I'm not lying. This is the first time ever in 5-6 years of using Krita that I have seen that work. I've never seen that work before. Ever. 999 times out of 1,000, what you have to do is you have to start stretching it in a way that's wrong and then hit the hotkeys, and then it re-begins stretching like that. Well, this has been a day of many kind of embarrassing stupidities, hasn't it? But there it is. Okay, so do we want to do anything with this is the question, and the answer is yeah, I think I do. So what I'm going to do is I don't want to be in freaking whatever goofy mode. Yeah, this is really crazy. It's like the color scheme is such that what I'm doing right now, if I'm on a mid color, I can't see. I can't see to tell what the size of the brush is. Okay. Keep rocking here. So what are we doing? I'm just adding a little bit of detail. I probably should just use the Conan brush, the truth be known. It's a little sharper. And yeah. I'm fussing with my hotkeys right now. In Krita, I cannot, like in every other program, I use my middle mouse button to pan. Like, so in other words, to do this, it's just click the middle mouse button. And Krita does not respect that hotkey anymore. It did, it didn't, and then it did, and then it didn't. And the current state of Krita is that it doesn't. So unfortunately, you cannot reliably use the middle mouse button in Krita to, at least I can't, to pan the screen around. To zoom, it still works. Like Control middle mouse does still zoom. Shift middle mouse still spins us around. But middle mouse by itself does nothing. So I have to go Alt left mouse. I have to do Alt drag to pan the screen. That's something that's new with Krita 5.2.6. But that's a quirk of Krita, though. I mean, Krita is by far the worst program I've ever seen or used in terms of management of hotkeys. It's comically bad. Like, and it's been a fact for years, and they don't want to fix it. They clearly don't want to fix it, so I've given up on that ever happening. But I still use it. I still get a lot of work done with Krita, so there's that to consider. But yeah, I'm just adding a little bit of detail here to. I'm gonna actually chisel that back out, I think, just to make the background a little more interesting. Just because I can. I don't like that at all. I'm just gonna start willy-nilly erasing. And I'm gonna go back to this brush so that I can blend it. I can tell my performance is hampered right now. I bumped into so many weird little things that were forgotten or mistakes in the last little while. I've made so many mistakes that I'm discombobulated now. My brain's a little freaked out. Trust me, this happens often. Because I'm moving fast. I could say I expect, but I definitely hope that my tools won't let me down so that I can basically create as fast as I think. And in the real world, basically, sometimes that happens and a lot of times it doesn't. I don't know how else to say it. It's just the way it is, man. So. But I really like doing background painting, actually. It's one of my it's a very zen thing. Once you get in the zone and start just working on it, it's just a fun process. I'm just trying to get these rocks in here. So anyway, who the heck is watching? Amar's the only one talking. Let's see here. So making a brush be a filler or stroke material by default. Yeah, so we've covered that, and basically what we've determined is, as far as I know, there's no way to tell Blender, please, just when you create a new material, let it be a fill material, not a stroke. The default is stroke, and as far as I know, there's no way to change it. But there may be. If somebody knows, post it in the chat or in the comments. Doing that with changes like any drawing program, how it would work by default. I never saw an any drawing program. So you should be drawing with fills. I mean, that's a fair argument to make. True, because everything is modifiable data in Blender, so you have to isolate the data to a specific case, which can be resolved via tutorials specific to new animators in Blender that don't learn how to animate in Blender via learning Blender first. Yeah, Blender's a big learning curve. Even with the line, still been loose in some of the keys, the line quality is still a lot better. Even with the line still been loose in some of the keys, are you saying using Blender compared to Krita or something? I'm not sure what you're saying there. I think as you get more comfortable with Blender, the lines will get even clearer. Yeah, they have been. They have been. Yeah. 5.2.9? Oh my god. Okay. I mean, it does seem like in principle I would be remiss not to try this. So I guess what I'm going to do is, here's what I'm going to do, friends. I'm going to, let's finish this, and then you guys are going to have the delight and pleasure of watching me. I'll show you how I upgrade Krita, and we'll see if it's a win or a loss. I have no idea. But I have a way that I mitigate potential problems. And so you'll see what I'm talking about here shortly. So I'm going to put Luca in a group. And basically, let's add a material. And when in doubt, it's going to be an overlay material. And let's just do what we've been doing for the last few scenes, which is we're going to just put put the bright side of it there and the dark side of it here. Now I really want this to be a little more dark and gloomy. So, okay. So now that's interesting. What we want to do is we want to alpha lock it to Luca though. Okay, and so you can see that this is obviously not going to quite work that well. But hang tough. We'll get it figured out. Okay, that's not bad. That's actually not bad. Obviously monkey's too bright. So this whole thing looks like it probably needs to be keyframed. So I'm going to hit insert. Okay, stop. Insert. I hit insert, and quite literally for the first time ever, despite this being, this is auto key blank, I went here and I hit insert, and it did the behavior you would associate with control insert. Control insert preserves the existing stuff that's in the frame. I didn't hit control insert though, I just hit insert. That's what it was supposed to be. By gum, this is quite confusing. Okay, so I'm just going to basically, let me see this. What would, the complementary color to green is actually red. So across, so here's green, so let's go across the color wheel and see what that does. Yes, in overlay mode, that's actually quite nice. I want a little bit of blue to it, but that is not bad. So let's split the difference and we'll go here. We'll pretend we're on a color triangle. So triangle would be boop, boop, boop. So this is going to split the difference between the complement and the blue. And I like that. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're just going to do this one color at a time. Okay, and oops, sorry. I'm going to go back here, make this a little smaller. Okay, I don't like that. I'm getting a little too crazy here with the gradients. I know people have been commenting, yeah, it looks good, and it does look good, but it's easy to go too far where not only does it start to look a little cheesy, but also you're kind of creating a precedent here that you need to follow through with in future scenes. So let's be at least a little careful about that. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, those can stay the same. So now what we're doing is we're going back. We're going just to the keyframes. Okay. And what we want is essentially a little bit of a highlight. Okay. I'm trying to use the Blender hotkeys instead of the Krita hotkeys. And that ain't gonna work. Okay, so that's probably fine. Alright, and so monkey, he's a little bit backlit. And what we're going to do is, let's see, let's just do the same thing here. Poof, poof, there we go. It's subtle. It's subtle. We just want a little bit of that. Up, mistake. So this, we're going to have to add a couple more keyframes. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to auto key duplicate, because all we want to do is make mods to the one that's already in place. Okay. Okay, cool. Back here. Back here. Okay, that's not going to work. This is unfortunate. It is what it is, and there's nothing we can do about it except put this these keyframes need to go up here. This needs to be alpha locked. I know this looks confusing. It'll make sense in a moment. First of all, we cannot deal with monkey. We cannot deal with monkey in this overlay because we're creating a situation where, well, you can see what the problem is, right? It's got to be a hold for Luca, but it has to change for monkey. But if we change the color here, it's going to cause this flashing, and honestly, the whole thing's looking kind of messy to me. So I want to try a little different strategy overall. Let's not keyframe it. Let's go to somewhere where we see both guys on the screen and just create a very simple. This is obviously in normal mode. This is not overlay mode. And if this begins to feel like it's backfiring a bit, I'm just going to retreat from it completely and not even bother with it. It's not that important. What's more important to the shot, actually, is, oh, I don't know, pick something like this. And just getting these guys to sit in the mix better is way more important. This is pretty good, right about there. Yeah, we just had a little too much contrast going on. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, save that. I guess we want to look at the render settings. The render settings are going to be, we're not exporting a video. This is shot 03.80. So this needs to be 80. This needs to be 03-80 period. And let that render. We'll look at it in the show, and then we're going to upgrade Krita and see what happens. Okay. Poof. Let's see how it looks. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, not bad. Yep, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do the basic rim light deal. Actually, this is probably gonna work really nicely. So what I'm gonna do is duplicate this layer. Okay. This is far more. This stuff is not that important. What I'm about to do right now is gonna help a lot. Okay, what I'm gonna do is we've got these two layers. As you can see, Krita, by default, of course, you'd want to see them in the timeline. And so, of course, Krita doesn't show them. You have to pin them by default. I have a lot of fun being snarky on Krita because, okay, that was kind of dumb. That was dumb on my part, but basically that's what I wanted to do. Okay, so now we're going to, let's just flatten this layer. We might as well flatten it. It's going to apply that color adjustment to the whole layer. Brrr, done. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to use a transform mask. Transform mask, we're not going to do any animating. We're just going to hit the A key and then offset this a little bit like that. Okay, and then we're going to take this and we're going to flatten the layer again. We're just going to keep baking it down. Now we're going to alpha lock that, as you can see. Now what we're going to do is we're going to grab all of the frames in this layer and we're going to add a blur. Blur. Boom. 5 pixels. Actually, 5 pixels is pretty good. And it's going to be multi-frame mode, so it's going to apply the blur individually to every single one of those frames. Brrr. Done. Okay. Now what we can do is just dial it in. Look at that. OMG, guys. Come on. Seriously? Right? Right? OMG. That's pretty. Now we're talking. Now we're getting somewhere. Rock and roll. Okay, and meanwhile, while this renders, I'm going to jump over to, what is it, Krita.org or something? I can't ever remember where. Yep. And what are we downloading? We are downloading Windows Portable. Okay. It's almost done already. And then we will look at what's going on in the show. Oh, golly, that looks pretty. Oh, my gosh. Really nice. Really nice. That's a gorgeous, gorgeous shot. Now it does beg the question of whether I should add the rim light to this bit right here. I mean I added the rim light in Tahoma. I think this is actually okay. It's kind of an effecty kind of shot. It's a cartoony thing. This, however, is absolutely drop dead gorgeous. Okay, so anyway, here's what I do, guys. I'm going to show you what I do. On my P drive, I have a folder called apps. Okay? And in my apps folder, there is Krita 514 and Krita 5. I believe that's 500. And this is just Krita, so that when I use my launcher, I've got this launcher program I use. It's called A Suite. It's an old program. It doesn't even run on Windows 11, so don't try. But anyway, if I launch Krita, it's going to launch Krita from the Krita folder. So if I want to switch to Krita 514, for example, I would just rename this Krita 526 and rename this plain old Krita, and then what would happen is the next time I launch it, it would launch from this folder instead. Why do I do it that way? I'm basically protecting myself against wacky things going wrong, basically. And so when I try another version, I want to keep the other one completely intact, so if I have to switch back, I can. Okay, having said that, this is probably not important. That can be deleted. 514 I'm going to keep around. So now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do this. I downloaded this, and I'm going to just copy it into this folder. So now on my P drive, in my apps folder, I'm going to have a folder for this version of Krita, 529. Okay? So we'll let that copy, and then meanwhile, what we'll do is we'll go here to Krita, and of course, let's not be silly, we need to close it. I'm going to go here, I'm going to rename this Krita. What just happened was rant worthy, by the way. One of the most mind-numbingly dumb things about Windows 8.1 is that if you have a critical file operation that you invoke, like you're copying or moving a bunch of files from here to there, the system will actually put a little icon that's behind here. So there will be a progress bar icon, but it's by default minimized. So whenever you do a major like mission critical file operation, you can't actually see it happening. You have to go up here and specifically pop it open so you can see it. Now what the system just did now was the complete opposite. Of course, everything's backwards. Meaning, I go here and I'm just trying to change the name of the file, and while I'm in the middle of typing this, the file operation from 7-zip actually steals the focus so that I can't finish typing in the name. Just bizarre, my friends. Everything's bizarre around here. It's crazy. It makes you insane. Okay, so now when we launch Krita again, it's going to launch from the 529 folder because I just changed its name to Krita. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go take this folder and we're going to copy it into Krita 529. Why did I do that? Well, this is actually the Krita. This is all my brushes and preferences and all that. You with me? Okay. So now what I will do is I'm going to run Krita from the launcher, and the first thing I'm going to do is point it to the correct folder, the correct preferences folder, and I'm going to load my hotkeys. Okay, everything looks pretty good. Let's go to Configure Krita. Let's go to Keyboard Shortcuts. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go with the defaults for a moment. I'm just going to restore the defaults. I can always load my scheme. Okay, so here for resources, it looks like it did it correctly. All right, so I want to check something real quick. I want to just go in here and see what the hotkeys look like. Okay, middle mouse to move still doesn't work. Okay, it looks like it's actually using my hotkeys. Settings, configure Krita. So let's go here, and just as an abundance of caution, I'm going to import the scheme. Okay, that's it. All right, so now I'm not sure why I just did that. And then Amar says there's some new brushes that maybe we'll want to be paying attention to. So I'll check that out later. But for now, perhaps against my better judgment, I'm now running Krita 5.2.9. Okie dokie. That's that. All right, so what do we do from here? That's how I do it. You guys may do it your own way, but that's how I do an upgrade. I'm always using the portable version. The Mamilio brushes. Right. Well, yeah, I mean, I wasn't taking it as a command to upgrade Krita. If you tell me 5.2.9 is out, that's only one version away from 5.3. And it could be that it's awesome. We can find out this way. You want to find out if it's awesome? Here's how we'll find out if it's awesome. We're going to go into our keyboard shortcuts. God, hang on a second. I got to think, what is the pan? Not pan tool. I got to find the hotkeys to the problem is terminology. I don't know what Krita calls it. To zoom into my screen, maybe I did it over here at canvas input settings. Let's try it. Pan canvas. Alt left button. Pan mode. Space left button. Okay, I'm going to take a chance here and change this. This should be middle mouse. So middle, and there should not be a modifier. Let's see if it works. Ah, it seems to work. Oh, cool. Okay, these still work. Okay, that means that maybe, just maybe, with Krita 5.2.9, we can actually get back to the same hotkeys we've used for years and years. That's cool. So, Amar, kudos to you, buddy, for pointing out that 5.2.9 is available. We'll see if it lasts. I do not hold out a great hope that this will continue. But so far, yeah, that's what you want. I think they must have found out it was a problem and fixed it. That's super cool. It was quite interesting the method they used when creating the brushes. Yeah, at this point, the brush creating capabilities in Krita are pretty impressive. I'm going to hold out the hope that 5.2.9 is going to be a version that I'll be able to just stick with for a while. That would be super cool. So this scene is done. File. I guess we probably should save it just to be safe. But yes, we are done. And where do we go from here is the question. Well, it looks like it's lunchtime. I guess it's lunchtime. So good. This is going to be half. So we are up to 11:43. We are almost halfway through episode 3. We're almost halfway through. What I'm seeing, I'm going to just sit back and take a gander at this. I do like what I'm seeing. Poof. Birds chirping. Babbling brook. This whole sequence is basically when I started using Blender and not Krita so much. Someday, yes, someday we will actually have the voices in there and the sound effects and everything. It'll be cool. But we got to get it all animated first. So. But yeah, again, Amar, thank you for calling to my attention that Krita 5.2.9 is out. It might be really a pleasant experience. You know, we'll see. The fact that the hotkeys for panning and zooming the screen work is a definite step in the right direction. 5.2.6 was quite a big disappointment for me. I adapted and worked around it, but it was a big disappointment. So it looks like we're in good shape. Good shape. What's next? Oh, okay, so Mel replies. Okay, so let me take a look at this. We're going to reuse some stuff. Yes. I'm going to have him go boom, boom, and then he says, but Nippur is more that way, isn't it? So we're going to repurpose 3-76. Is 3-76 a Blender or a Krita? Well, there's the blend. Okay, cool. So yeah, we could actually... I'm pretty sure I brought this into Krita though. I must have because it's got the gradients and stuff. So let's see about 3-76. 79, 77. Everything's so tiny I can't even see it on the screen. There it is. Okay, let's take a look at this. Okay, cool. Very good. So this is basically just... This is pretty much... I can't think and work at the same time. This is basically timeline editing. Period. Not much animation to do here. Okay, I like that. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take all of these keys, and when I click down, is it going to lose my selection? No. Okay, very good, Krita. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to go here. Just move these guys downstream. Okay, so what just went wrong? Okay, I will say this. My suspicion is, obviously what you see is horrific. My suspicion is the reason that happened is because of the thing I've mentioned a zillion times, which is Krita does not pin layers. We'll see if that's the problem, but I suspect it is. Okay, there's one. There's one. Boom. Yes. That's the problem. So a key layer was not actually pasted or you know, pinned to the timeline. So I wound up grabbing all except that one layer, which is not good. Okay, we also have in this scene paint layer 1, which I have no idea what paint layer 1 is. Oh, that's his mouth. Okay. So we put his mouth on this layer, and we should save this. Might as well. This does not need to be saved. Okay. So this will make sense in a minute. Oh, that's horrible. This whole column. get rid of all of it. Okay, that's not bad. This is not bad. Grab all this, move this here. Actually, no. I'm going to grab these guys, move these guys downstream. Okay. Trying to drop it. Thank you. Okay. These guys can be moved downstream about here. Control drag to copy. Okay. Okay. Control drag to here. Okay, so Lucas says Gripson's not far. And he says, and he looks at Tianara. I guess this probably should be deleted. Nope, 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 nope. Where's the shoulder fix? Right here. Okay, so just a moment ago, yep, same thing again. Krita, Krita, Krita. I don't know how to tell Krita to always, 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 no matter what, always pin new layers to the timeline, and by default it doesn't. And it can really become confusing. But anyway, okay, so here's the shoulder fix. And so this actually needs a blank keyframe. Nope, nope, nope. Okay. Anytime I've ever had a scene that has quote-unquote fixes baked into it, like this one, it always becomes a real difficult problem later. Basically, you solve an immediate problem, and then it creates more problems downstream. So right here, we've got an issue with the shadow, this shadow. So which layer is it? Is it this one? No. Is it this one? Yes. Okay, it's this one. Grab this one. Grab it here. Move this back to here. Okay, cool. So he glances back at Tianara and then back to Luca. He's kind of taking the temperature of the room, and then he says, but Nippur is more that way, isn't it? Okay, so let's see. There was some. This is all useless for this shot. Okay. Poof. Okay. How did we get from there to there? Okay. We've got that there. If you're confused. Well, sorry. Oh. Well, we've got a bunch more frames here that we have to work with. Obviously, the mouth shapes are all going to be out of whack. So yeah, I think I'm going to take these, move these downstream. Okay. Krita, thank you. Hold on. Okay, shadow. Right, got it. Boom. Okay. I'm not sure. Actually, I think I like these as well. I'm going to put these down here. Let's remove frames and pull. And then do the same thing here. Remove frames and pull. Okay, so now we have at least the framework for a scene that maybe will kind of work. Okay. Yep, so we got that in there twice. Okay, and what about this? What about this shoulder fix? It's out of sync. It's out of sync. Let me just think about this for a minute. Probably, I'm just going to take this out and see what happens. Okay, we still have this mess right here, that's out of sync. So in other words, the ink appears to be out of sync with the color on that particular frame. Ink merged, ink merged. Okay, so why would the ink be there? And I think that's because of this. This was basically painting over it. Okay, so anyway, the crux here is that trying to get useful reuse out of a scene that has kludgy fixes pasted on top of it, like the shoulder fix, usually turns out, it's unfortunate, but no matter what I do, it's probably going to take longer to work with this scene and reuse it than to do it from scratch. Now, that's probably not really true, but we're going to keep trying here. We're going to try to make this work. Okay, so we need a new folder, 03-81. We need to go into that folder. This needs to be called 03-881. We need a folder in here called render. Actually, we don't really have to create that because Krita will create it for us when we render. Oh, okay, and we just made a mistake. Sure as shit. What just happened? What just happened was another Krita weirdness. That really shouldn't have happened, but you could basically argue about it. Bottom line is it stored it into the I created the folder, and so then the next thing Krita did was assumed that when I saved this file that I wanted to save it in that folder, when in fact I didn't, and I don't believe I specifically asked for that. But anyway, okay, so what do we have? So this is quite unfortunate. But we're going to try to fix it. So are we in liquify mode right now? No, I think we're in brush mode. All right, so A key, liquify. Let's see if we can basically shrink this down. And it's in twist mode. Of course it's in twist mode. Of course it is. Because that's the last place I was when I was demonstrating something. Okay. And this is now sort of fixed. Sort of fixed. Okay, not bad. Not bad. Okay, is that adequate to the situation? But of course we can't know because as you can see when we scrub, Krita will not update the animation cache. So it's not showing us any of the animation. And what Krita does is waits until you hit play and then it fills the animation cache. Somewhat quirky behavior. Okay, why do we still have a layer that's called paint layer 1? Oh, because it's the gradients. Do we have any other layers that don't seem to have appropriate labels? Okay, ink merged. Yep, same thing again. Yeah, I'm not sure. Did Liquify just remember my prior settings? I think it might have. If it did, that's an improvement. Liquify is notorious for, if you meticulously set the size of it to exactly where you need it to be, and then you switch to another frame or switch to another tool, when you switch back, Krita will reset it to the default. Now, maybe that's not true anymore. Let's make this really tiny. Really tiny. Let's go to another frame. And, well, okay, this works out because we need, and it did retain it. It retained the setting, so that's good, actually. That may be an improvement in Krita. Glad to see it. So in this case, anyway, Krita remembered the last setting I used. So maybe the devs are paying attention. Okay, so now what's very strange at this point is I'm seeing like every single frame is wrong as far as the ink goes. And so, as I said, everything takes longer because I'm actually fixing the fix. Why is every single frame wrong? I don't know. I don't know. It's correct here. Okay, if it's correct here, then why do we even have a keyframe here? Just get rid of it. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. Those two I'll leave. That's okay. All right, cool. So we're getting there. So he says, okay, yeah. So now what we're going to do is we're going to start working out the timing. So let's move this to 12. We want to have this sense that Mel is kind of thinking. So we'll do a half a second. Okay, and I want to not change the shadows here. All that moved was his eyes. So the idea that the shadows would change is kind of ridiculous. So it must be this keyframe right here. Okay, so boom, boom. Not bad. Boom. Okay, so what we have, let's grab this. I want to see if I hit shift. Nope, it doesn't do the whole row. If I double click the row, then it still doesn't. Okay. Okay. What if I hit shift and grab this center one? Now it grabs all the ones above. Okay, this is freakishly bizarre behavior, but it might be useful if I know how it works. So what it appears just happened is Krita says, if you double click, it selects a column. Okay? If you hit shift, it will ripple edit the top layer. Okay. Double click. But what I just did was I then shift clicked the middle and it did everything from the bottom up. Okay, that's really strange behavior, but I'll take it. What does that suggest? It suggests that if I double click and select a column, then I hit shift, simply select the row at the bottom. Sure enough, it works. Okay, it's bizarre behavior, but as long as I know what to do, I'll take it. So same thing here would be shift, grab it from the bottom, and everything ripple edits. If you grab it from the top, only the stuff from there up ripple edits. That's really strange. But like I said, as long as we know how it works, it's cool. We can deal with it. Okay. Boom. Boom, boom. So now I want to grab this from the bottom. I'm just going to keep working with this and assume that what I'm learning here from Krita is correct. Okay, so double click, shift, grab the bottom. Seems to be the rule, guys. The rule in Krita would be, you know, because we're trying to figure out how do we navigate the timeline in a way that becomes intuitive, where things work kind of the way you would expect them to. Okay, okay. Right there, we've got the ink. Why did the ink not Okay, I'm going to go to the group. The group, I'll concede the group doesn't need to be pinned. Okay, there's something we want to look at here. If you use Liquify, for example, on a group, what will happen is any layers that already have animated keyframes in them, operation will add a new animated keyframe on every layer that is already animated. Any layer that isn't, like, for example, the gradients layer has no keyframes. That means if I do a liquify operation on the group, it will not add a keyframe here, but it will add keyframes to all of these layers. So what we're going to do is hit the A key, size this up, and hope Krita remembers. Hey, Zuko. Looks like Zuko's up. And so we're going to try to edit the whole thing. Ignore the mouth layer, by the way. Okay, that's a rapid and a little bit jolting change, but maybe it'll work. Actually, I think the solution is to remove this entirely, because I like that little change. What if I go from this to this? I'm going to try. I don't like this. It's not a very good drawing anyway. Kill all of those. Hey, Zooks. Zooks is chirping to me. Okay. So he's a thinking. But isn't... Yep. So these can all go. Okay, cool. So all that happens in this shot is Mel's a little confused by Luca's comment. And he's like, but isn't Nippur that way? Okay, so he says, but Nippur is... But Nippur is... I want to try twist. I'm probably going to regret it. Oh, God. Well, that's what I told you guys earlier. Literally, the smallest change you can possibly make, 0.001. I mean, is it possible to change this to 0.0001 for the amount? The amount is literally 0. Spacing is literally 0. See? And yeah, the only increment is 1/100th. And so I'm moving. Now that's not horrible. That's actually somewhat tolerable. Let's find out. Right, here we go. I'm trying to make the tiniest move I can. I'm trying to move my mouse only like 1 pixel. Okay, it doesn't matter. This cannot be 0. It has to be something. Click. Move. God, it's so hard to control. I find it baffling. It's like, why would you even put it in the program if it's really this bad? I don't get that, but okay. Whatever, man. Whatever, friend. Okay, stop. Okay. I switched it here. And Krita said, no, you don't really want to drag things around. You couldn't possibly. No. You were twisting a moment ago, so even though you explicitly switch it to this, you couldn't really want that. So we're just going to switch it back for you. If you think I'm being snarky, I'm not. I'm telling you that's literally what Krita does. Obviously, where I'm being snarky is the reasoning behind it. I actually think it's just something the devs hadn't paid really good attention to, right? So this is okay. I'm going to stop here. I got some other things I need to do, so this will be a good stopping point. Not a great productive session today. Not bad, but not amazing. But if you want the Animation Truman Show concept where you're just seeing the way it really goes, it's been a really good show for that. All right, checking the comments. Oh my gosh, look at all these comments. Yeah, brushes you shared. How's it going today? I'm actually getting ready to sign off, man. Kamura says, have you tried animating in Synfig? Synfig is Synfig is a monstrosity. In the animation space, and particularly if you want to talk about the open source space, Synfig is the most worthless piece of shit on planet Earth. Like, it is that bad. It is the most useless, worthless, garbage piece of software I've ever seen. I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. And I can say that with confidence because after not touching it for several years, I actually looked at it again just a few days ago. Why? Because it has the ability to export Lottie format. And the Lottie format, I won't get into what Lottie is, but it's basically a way to bake SVG animation into JSON files, basically text-based files, so you can use them in a web page. Yeah, Synfig, don't waste your time, friend. If you're new to animation here, okay, put it this way, if you're enough of a newbie that you even had to ask that question, then I will tell you, learn Blender. If you're wanting to do animation and you're going to start clean, you're starting from scratch, you don't know where to turn, learn Blender. Secondarily, I use OpenToonz, well, not OpenToonz, I use Tahoma2D and I use Krita. That's what I use. I've created a real program, okay? So this is episode 3 of a show that's currently distributed all over the world, okay? This whole show was done with Blender, Krita, and Tahoma2D. That's what I use. They work. They have their quirks. They have their issues. But basically, if this is the kind of thing you want to do, don't waste your time on a piece of garbage like Synfig. It's horrible. If you reduce opacity when you're on the spin tool to reduce how much time, it wouldn't matter. Awkward Penguin. I'm 99% sure that would not matter. Because when you talk about reducing the opacity, what you're really talking about is, like, okay, let's play with it. Let's go ahead and play with it. We're on the group. Let's select the whole group. Okay. What I've messed with is spacing and amount. Now you could say, well, what about flow? Well, the thing is, flow doesn't even come into play unless you're in wash mode. So maybe you're right. I haven't tried this in a while. Maybe this is the answer. All other things being equal, let's use wash mode instead of build-up mode, and let's turn the flow down to, well, 0.01. You might be onto something here. I don't know. Okay, so now I clicked to do it. Do you see? Did you see that? I switched the flow to a number that I liked, and then I clicked to do it. And do you see what Krita did? Krita did exactly the opposite of what you would ever want a program to do. Krita said, oh, now that you've clicked, now that I know that this is actually the tool you want to use, I'm going to decide for you that you must want to switch back to the way it was set before you changed it. That's literally what Krita just did. So I'm just saying that, not to be overly snarky, but be aware, guys, this is the kind of crap that Krita does all the time. Having said that, I gotta say, I think Awkward is onto something here. This isn't perfect, but let's turn the flow up to a more manageable number. Let's like 0.1 or something. Let's try that. This may actually be the answer. And okay, hello. Okay, so it's a little strange. It's a little strange. Let's turn the flow way up and see what happens. So let's put it in reverse mode. Okay, so the most, golly, the best thing I can tell you here is that I have had the, well, there you go. Okay, so the answer, Awkward, is this. I've had the Krita liquefy twist tool set to build-up mode for about 5 years, and you just saw why. You just saw exactly why. Now, is there potentially another answer here that's interesting, such as put the wash, let's just put it at halfway roughly, okay? Does it turn out that that setting actually has a role in build-up mode? Well, I don't know. If we put this at 0.01 and we put this at 0.01, in build-up mode, now it doesn't appear to be doing anything, which is even more bizarre. So I'm going to... Oh, I see. So Krita's got it. Now we have to wait for Krita to do it, which could take kind of a long time, actually. So we're waiting for the image operation to complete. Thank goodness I did save my work earlier, because literally who knows how long this is going to take. Who knows? There's actually no indication that it's actually making any progress at all, which is obviously... Yeah, well, it's... I mean, the short story is Liquefy Twist in Krita has been set to build-up mode with the settings as low as possible for about 5 years for a reason. So what you guys just saw here in real time is you found out the reason. I've had it set this way forever because of these behaviors that have been problematic literally for years, and apparently they haven't improved at all. Now, unfortunately, friends, as you can see, the gradient layer might as well probably be deleted, because in messing with things, I didn't realize that even though it's not inserting keyframes, it is in fact changing the only frame that exists in the gradient layer. So, which was not, I didn't intend to turn the gradient into a twisted kaleidoscope of garbage, right? So anyway, we go to the group. So what we were trying to do, going back to the beginning here, is it's set to build up, and fortunately, Krita did not seem to change anything. Okay, I'm only going to move I'm going to move less than this. See how much I'm moving here? You can't see my stylus, but I'm telling you, I'm going to try to move literally 1 pixel. Okay, that's what 1 pixel does for you. It's not horrific, but it's not exactly great either. That's actually workable. So now you can see why I've had these settings the way they are for years. The reason is those are the settings that work, and they're pretty much the only settings that work. That I can work with. It's still a little more coarse than I prefer, but at least it's workable. All right, guys, I'm signing off because I got some other things I need to go do. And so everybody have a good day, and as you know, there will be more later. Boom, 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 boom.